Hello and welcome back to The Works. I've got another great show for you this week. Just a couple of things I wanted to talk about before we start. I had scheduled an interview with Chris Gallant a couple of weeks ago, but it has been extremely difficult as of late to get through. We had a Zoom meeting scheduled for 1 on the 4th, and now they have just been very slow to respond, him and his team. I really wanted to talk to him. And I do hope that interview still happens. Please stay tuned. I am working on it. I am hoping that we will be able to find some time. I also wanted to talk about some of the corruption we see going on this week on the national scale. For those of you who have not been following, I'm going to give you this brief rundown of what's going on. I'm not a news source, but just as a citizen, I have to talk about this because I just don't know what else to do. So Trump never released his tax returns. Every president who has ever been in charge of the country has released their tax returns as far as I know. Only Trump refused. His repeated line was that his tax returns are being audited and that's why he can't release them. That's obviously a lie. Every year of his tax returns can't possibly be being audited. In 2019, an IRS employee leaked filings for many people, including Trump. Trump then sued the IRS for $10 billion for leaking his tax returns, which showed he only paid about $750 in federal income tax. Since that lawsuit, we gave this disgusting alleged sexual abuser of children power. Again, their Supreme Court gave him immunity, and now we find ourselves with the news of this week. The $10 billion lawsuit was dropped in exchange for a $1,776 million settlement. This money will be at the discretion of 5 appointees who, of course, Trump gets to appoint. By the way, just to be clear, that's your money. It's our money. That's our tax dollars going to a slush fund for Trump, instead of going to our infrastructure, healthcare, or agriculture. This money, Trump claims, will go to the victims of the Biden administration's DOJ, another lie. The news has been very afraid that the January 6ers are going to get some of this money, and maybe they will, but I doubt it, honestly. I mean, do you know Trump, someone who shares? If that all wasn't enough, it also comes with the promise from the IRS that they will never be allowed to investigate his finances ever again, including his children as well, because that's what not guilty people do. Republicans do not believe in law and order. They believe in and support corruption at the highest levels of our government. They create chaos, and every single one of them, voters included, I think should be viewed as traitors to this country at this point. Sorry, I said it. They are. Let's focus on the number. The news reports it is a $1.8 billion settlement, but that's not true. The number is important because it tells us exactly how low they think of the American people. The number is 1.776, or 1776, the year our nation was founded. And on the fortnight of our 250th birthday, Trump would like to remind us all he stole so much money from us. He took advantage of this young country and it, like he always does around young, naive things he can overpower. We have been young and naive to believe that autocracy can't happen here, or kleptocracy. It is here. I think the only thing we can do is call our representatives. If you live in New York D1, call LALOTA, who allegedly has a very tiny, eeny-weeny mushroom so useless and unpleasurable he spent last Valentine's Day posting about Zoran Mamdani instead of making his wife happy. You need to call him at this number and demand an end to this corruption, because this is not sustainable, people. This is embarrassing. I'm sorry to get so heavy at the start, but I had to talk about this. And I'm sorry if you're a Trump supporter and you don't like my rhetoric, but you have to wake up to the reality of what's going on. You and your ideology, you're being stolen from. You're being conned, you're being stolen from, and our country is dissolving because of your stupidity. Sorry to talk about all of that. I know it's really heavy. Let's lighten things up. Let's talk about some movies. Okay, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, rated PG-13, 2 hours and 12 minutes. Lucasfilm, this is a franchise science fiction directed by Jon Favreau, and it stars Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, and Jeremy Allen White. Do you remember the first time you saw Star Wars? Maybe you were lucky enough and old enough to have seen it in theaters. Do you remember The Empire Strikes Back and the assault on the planet Hoth? If you were a kid, do you remember the size of those AT-ATs and how massive they were. Yeah, well, The Mandalorian and Grogu isn't that, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you like this review and you want to see more, like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and if you want to go the extra mile, check out my Patreon page, where these reviews are sent right to your inbox hours or days before they make it to YouTube. Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is a movie in the Star Wars universe following the characters from the Disney Plus show, The Mandalorian. I do not have Disney Plus, and don't ever expect to. So this is my first introduction to these characters. If you're like me, after Disney desecrated Star Wars with The Rise of Skywalker in 2019, I really felt I needed to step away. Over the years, I don't think Star Wars still holds the same place in my heart as it did when I was a kid. But my whole childhood was Star Wars. From every Lego set I ever built, to the few video games I ever played, Star Wars was the theme. Watching Rise of Skywalker was one of the single worst cinema experiences of my lifetime, on par with The Exorcist Believer or Melania. It's the type of movie that really ends credibility, and Disney at this point has pretty much destroyed every IP they own. From Indiana Jones to whatever dreck Marvel comes out with next. The opening 10 minutes of The Mandalorian and Grogu was previously released as marketing to hype the film up. I heard another critic, who I really like, say they did that because the opening 10 minutes are the best part of the film, and it just continues to dive down from there. Well, I don't know, man. If this opening 10 minutes are the best part of this or any film, you're already kind of doomed. For me, this opening wasn't even good. I cannot help but compare The Empire Strikes Back, which came out nearly 50 years ago and had a budget of $33 million. Even adjusted for inflation, that budget in 2026 is still $40 million less than the $166 million budget of The Mandalorian and Grogu, which objectively looks like garbage. It looks like a f***ing cartoon. Oh my god, if you know anything about this movie, you probably know about Grogu. Let's talk about him. Grogu is this cute little baby alien, whatever alien species Yoda was. Grogu is a puppet with a layer of CGI over him. The conversation around this film tells us everything we need to know. In a film loaded with creatures of all different shapes and sizes, I'm looking at you, Dragon Snake. The only memorable one anyone cares about is the one made with practical effects. Of course. Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian. I'm not even sure where to begin. Hot take, he sucks. He delivers his lines like he is reading off a cue card. If his face is giving off any emotion, you can't tell because the character is wearing a helmet nearly the entire film. Blocking the audience from seeing the character's face creates this huge emotional barrier in trying to empathize with our protagonist. I felt nothing. I don't care. I hate him. The action, honestly, who cares? They're not doing any of it. It's all cartoons. They're not doing anything. I've heard some people defend the look of this film saying, well, it's for kids. Who's kids? This film is rated PG-13, and The Mandalorian is basically Space John Wick without blood. It's a great introduction for kids. Yeah, if you want them to have brain damage, you want to know what a great introduction is for the kids? Star Wars A New Hope, which came out in 1979, or 8, or whatever. Show them 4, 5, and 6. Show them 1, 2, and 3, and then say Star Wars just ended after that. That's how we should just go forward. Okay, fine. We could let Rogue One slide, but we're still not welcome at the holidays. I've given up on Disney learning the right lessons. At this point, I just wish they would stop. Don't get me wrong, I love the Star Wars universe. It's beautiful. I would like to see it continue, but not if these are the people doing it. A cute puppet doesn't make a good movie. It makes a good plush toy. The Mandalorian and Grogu is just a 2-hour life suck that is just another tool for these studios to pump out more terrible merchandise and disrespect the fans that ever gave them the status that they have. It's terrible. 1 star. Okay, Passenger, rated R, 1 hour and 34 minutes. This is by Paramount Pictures. This is horror. It's directed by Andre Overdahl, great name. Stars Jacob Scipio, I don't know. Lou LaBelle and Melissa Leo. Passenger is one of those horror movies that benefit from a jump scare trailer. You know exactly what I'm talking about, from the monster under the sheets in Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, or the clapping hands from The Conjuring. This short but effective teaser promises terror, but more often than not, spoils the single greatest scare in the film and uses it as a marketing ploy. It's a surefire way towards failure because unless you're James Wan, I'd put money on your film not living up to the hype of its marketing tactic. The Passenger trailer has gotten a lot of online reactions and engagement. But does it spoil its best scare to sell your ticket? I'll tell you the answer, but first, if you like this review and you want to see more, like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and if you want to go that extra mile, check out my Patreon page where these reviews are sent right to your inbox hours or days before they make it to YouTube. The short answer, yes. The opening scene is the entire trailer. Daniel, Miles Fowler, and his friend are on a long road trip when they have to stop to use the bathroom. Daniel steps away from the car. Pause. He steps really far away from the car. So far away from the car that it's out of view. You're telling me that these two young guys traveling the country together in this tiny little car are so uncomfortable with each other that he has to step 10, 15 feet away from the car just to pee? It's dark out. What's he afraid of his friend seeing? Anyway, Daniel returns to the car and finds his friend is gone. The alarms are going off and all the doors are open. Even stranger, his friend left his phone behind and there is a sound coming from the woods. The frightened Daniel starts the car and drives away in a hurry, only to be attacked by a supernatural passenger that appears in the seat next to him. That is a very scary intro if it wasn't completely ruined by the fact that this entire 12-minute cold open has been completely spoiled by the 30-second teaser trailer for several months now, and the scene becomes absolutely grueling to sit through because we've already seen this just get to the movie. When we do finally get to the film, we meet nomads Tyler and Maddie, Jacob Scipio and Lou LaBelle, quickly adjusting to their new life, living out of a mobile home. To the film's credit, these characters do not feel rushed. We get a really good sense of who these two are, particularly Maddie, who is optimistic but not confident in their new venture onto the open roads. Tyler is a little thin, but he isn't stupid or unlikable. For instance, when things start to go wrong, Tyler believes Maddie when she tells him something that she can't easily explain. He doesn't just deny her reality and tell her to go F herself. Caring about these characters goes a long way towards making this film a better experience because the technical end isn't doing all that much for us. Some of the camera work is really not that good. There is a great sequence of Maddie walking to the van in a parking lot at night that is really expertly done. The opening is really well done, but there are other moments where the framing is either too close or just unstable and shaking. I'd also be curious to know what camera they shot this on because some of the motion, the shots where the camera is like physically moving, kind of look like out of focus or there's like a lens distortion. I'm not really sure what's happening there. Director Andre Overdahl isn't new to this game. He's directed some really great independent horror films like The Autopsy of Jane Doe in 2016 and Troll Hunter all the way back in 2010. God, that really ages myself. Even his last film, which I wasn't a huge fan of, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, had this great premise at the heart of it, which ironically was also about a supernatural stowaway. Passenger shines in its second act. The scares and the mystery unfold very organically. For a while, the movie really had me invested in their fate. But Passenger really goes off course in its third act with the introduction of this character, Diane, Melissa Leo, who does the role well, but Diane's message is clear. If you see someone in trouble on the side of the road, don't stop. Don't help. The haunted highwayman might have marked them. Color Me Shocked, Zionist-led Paramount Pictures makes the core message of their movie the idea that sympathy for another human being will get you killed by a demon. The highwayman is scary until he isn't. He works best in the dark and in the quiet, but as soon as the finale starts, his sinister smile is kind of hampered by like these predictable and formulaic writing tropes. Not super scary. Compared to last weekend's Obsession, Passenger feels like a backseat driver. I gave this 2.5 stars out of 5. You know, if you're a fan of this type of movie, I'd even say like it might be worth like 3 stars, but it's really like it's on the fence here. Okay, let's end on a high note. I love Boosters. Rated R. This is an hour and 45 minutes. It's an absurdist comedy slapstick. This is produced and distributed by Neon, and it's written and directed by Boots Riley. This stars Keke Palmer, Naomi Ackie, and Lakeith Stanfield. Hey, 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 hi, hey, hey, hi, hey, ho. I Love Boosters is the new film by Boots Riley, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you like this review and you want to see more, like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and if you want to go that extra mile, check out my Patreon page where these reviews are sent right to your inbox hours or days before they make it to YouTube. I Love Boosters is a new absurdist comedy from writer-director Boots Riley, which tells the story of a couple neighborhood friends stealing from the Metro designers and reselling the clothes for a third of the price. These are called boosters, and our main three are Corvette, Keke Palmer, Mariah Taylor Page, and Saad Day, Naomi Ackie. The head of Metro Designers is a woman by the name of Christy Smith, Demi Moore, a visionary fashion designer whose stores sell monochromatic clothing. Each store sells one color of clothes. If you want a different color, go to a different store. Okay. The tone of this movie could only be described as absurd satire. I am not familiar with Boots Riley's previous work, but I've heard Sorry to Bother You is very similar tonally to this, and in that case, I'm going to have to go back and watch that because, wow, I had a really good time with I Love Boosters. The comedy is ridiculous, but very effective. I laughed out loud quite a few times in this movie. There's one scene where a character who is only credited as Pinky Ring Guy, Lakeith Stanfield, sucks a woman's soul out. I was shrieking with laughter. Even if it's just crude and bizarre, I didn't care. The entire cast commits to the bit. Keke Palmer, God bless her, she is so charismatic and enjoyable on screen. It's like she could just do no wrong. She reminds me of Aubrey Plaza, in the sense that like both actresses could kind of make a hot dumpster fire look good and then make it funny. Naomi Ackie is another actress who has consistently chosen just great roles for herself. In the past 2 years alone, she's been in Mickey 17, Sorry Baby, and Blink Twice. If there's one thing about that, it's that all of those movies have these discernible, strong messages at their core. Not like Passenger, which just tells you to be afraid of everyone and anything and never try to help anyone ever. For all of the laughs, I Love Boosters has what you're really looking at is a modern Robin Hood story. These boosters are stealing from the Metro, the rich, evil corporation whose offices are literally built on a slant, and selling it for a third of the price back to the poor who have been disenfranchised by the likes of Christy Smith. Boosters is as shocking as it is funny. I would caution people that pretty much anything is fair game. You have no idea what might be coming around the corner in Boots Riley's strange and satirical universe. It may be a giant wrecking ball of bills or tickets, or it might be a drone in a human skin suit, but whatever happens, just know it probably means a little bit more than just your average laugh. I gave this 3.5 stars out of 5. Just a quick reminder before I go. On June 20th, I am performing in Ridgewood, New York as protest art. Please come see that show. I'm headlining Prism's Music Festival. So that's going to be a really fun show. There's a bunch of other great bands there. I hope you go check us out. Please stream Stories from the End, available on all streaming platforms. And, of course, call your congresspeople and get them to fix this shit.